Right. So we're going to take a few moments here and get centered as we move into our time of meditation, where we can find that peace that is within us always. So take a breath and allow your body to feel the breath as it moves through you, energizing every cell from the top of your head all the way down to your toes. Breathe in the sky and breathe out the stars. Breathe in. Allow that light that you are circulate and move as your body relaxes. When the body can relax, we feel safe. We feel comforted. Breathe. Be present to the seat you're sitting in, to your feet on the floor, with Mother Earth holding us all up. Invite love. Invite love into each breath. A moment of pause, the point of rest, has its own magic. Bring in your scattered thoughts. Be present at all levels of your consciousness in this time of togetherness, together with this one presence and one power that is closer than our breath. Come to the point of holy focus. Holy focus in this present and magical moment. Allow your breath just to breathe you. Allow the thoughts that are skittering in your mind just to keep going. We don't need to hang on to them. Watch them, let them go. Be present, invite love. As we move now into the silence. Feel this moment of pause, this point of rest. Feel the magic that is in the bird song right outside our door. That's the only music we need right this moment. So lovely. They're saying, I love you. I love you. Are you hungry? I have food. Bird song. How gracious. Take a nice deep breath. As you allow your body to wiggle a little, come back into the room, into this present moment. And you can leave your eyes closed if you want. We're going to have so you can enjoy the song by Nancy as we're moving back into our awareness in this room. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Nancy. Our musicians are doing such a wonderful job. Pretty soon we'll have live here. But I'm seeing. I saw Jack doing things. See, I pay attention to the man behind the wall. He might be telling me, push a button. I'm unmuted. And Zoom can hear me. Okay, so I don't need this one off, right? Okay. Okay, I think we're ready. Drum roll. Happy Memorial Day, everyone. And I know it's kind of it's a mixed feeling on Memorial Day because, you know, I didn't know for a long time that it was to honor those service people who have died in the line of service in our military service, for military service. For a long time, all I knew was that we went to grandma's grave and put flowers on, you know, and so, but then, you know, you grow up, you learn things, and but it's a lot of people celebrate Memorial Day. It's the first real kind of holiday for the beginning of summer. Schools are going to be letting out soon, and you know, we got graduations and weddings and picnics and birthdays and just all kinds of celebrations. We get the grill fired up, and we're going to do that in just a little bit. We get the lawn games out, and you know, it's just like, and this year, what a spectacular celebration. Because last year we couldn't mix and mingle like we are today. And so we are so grateful for that. And we keep the lives, the families of those who have lost loved ones in the line of service. There's a lot of parades and things to honor them. I think sometimes we get caught up in all that and go, oh, you know, it is kind of a solemn occasion that we celebrate. So kind of a mixed bag there. So today I'm going to use a couple of words that may seem contrary to our unity teachings to discuss this war thing. And why do some people come back unscathed and some don't come back at all, or some come back and they seem to be broken either in spirit or in body? What's that about? So these two words are, you know, I had to do some deep prayer and some research before I introduced this. And I know you've heard these words before, but they're fate and destiny. Okay. Now, for us metaphysicians, it's like, no. That's the way I felt about them for a long time. Until I found several really, some authors that I really relate to, that I trust. And so this book came to me, Fate and Destiny by Michael Meade. And I'm going to be sharing from that a bit. So war, it's a given here, life on Earth right now. And wouldn't it be lovely if we could know that war is not going to ever happen again? And I think that's been the prayer after every war, during every war. You know, from the Greek armies many moons ago to the World War I, the war to end all wars. Yeah, no, not so much. Well, and if we pay attention to, you know how they say truth is stranger than fiction or something. If you watch Star Trek or Star Wars, you think, well, wars are going to go on even when we move into space. Well, let's pray that they don't. So even space, in space, it's right and proper to take the time to honor those who have fallen, the fallen warriors who fought for king and country back in ancient times, and today, for all the soldiers over the world, all of them, and especially those that we know and love here in the United States. Memorial Day was born out of necessity after the American Civil War, and a battered United States was faced with the task of burying and honoring 600,000 to 800,000 Union and Confederate soldiers who died in the single bloodiest military conflict in American history. And these weren't strangers. These weren't sending guys over to Europe. These are right here, brother against brother. Young people. Well, the first official national commemoration of Memorial Day was held in the Arlington National Cemetery, May 30th, 1868, where both Union and Confederate soldiers were buried, black and white. In the many years before and after the Civil War, most people had been no choice in going off to war. And we knew that here in the US when there was the draft, right? So some went willingly with pride and with purpose, and some went because they felt they had no choice. And like I said, many of them didn't. So was that fate intervening for those who didn't have to go and those who did? My oldest brother was 18, 19, right as the Vietnam War was stirring up, and they were doing the draft. And I think my mother cried for days just because he was eligible for it. Well, fortunately, he has big old flat feet, and they weren't taking flat-footed soldiers at that point. And so, was that fate intervening? So we do continually forget that no matter how hard we fight for our freedom, whether in our personal life or in our nation, we'll never find it outside of ourselves. There are far too many variables in life outside of ourselves. So as we say all the time, once we are centered, let peace begin with who? Me. Yeah. We haven't gotten that yet. I'm going to read to you a little bit from Michael Meade. Although fate can mean it has been written, and that's the part that we don't like, the elements of fate present an unfinished inner story trying to unfold, a living text that is open to interpretation and subject to change. Fate shapes the particular plot line through which each soul tries to awaken and enter the great drama of life. When accepted and attended to, our fate functions more as an oracle needing interpretation than a plot line with a fixed outcome. Facing the elements of one's fate and seeking the destiny hidden within it are part of the art of truly living and living truly. Take that in for a moment. That to me made sense. That to me moved along the lines of what I believe or what I think I believe right now. You know, like Charles Fillmore said, I always reserve the right to change my mind. As we grow in spirit and we grow in understanding, our perceptions shift and we hear things that we never heard before. Well, my own sweet daddy was drafted into the Army just days before he was going to sign up to join the Air Force. Either way, he was prepared to serve his country. He was a skinny 18-year-old farm boy from Ohio who'd never been much further than, you know, the little town that he lived in. So he found himself very seasick on a huge ship bound for far-off land to shoot strangers for reasons he may or may not have understood. Dad was in the Korean War, and to survive, he had to shoot young men in his own age, strangers in this strange land. And my father, as I'm sure many young men did, he honored humanity, all of it. He never really completely got over that. He'd have my mom told us he had nightmares for years. And he told me about one story of it, and I can understand. The only thing he knew for sure was that he was proudly serving his country and his family. They were all waiting for him in the land of the free. He was a man of faith. He was a man of faith and left the rest to fate. Gratefully, he came back after the war, and his destiny was that he married my mom. They had 4 wonderful children and made a safe home for us all in the suburbs of Ohio. So maybe that helped him reconcile the suffering that he was endured and the humanity that was being battered and broken all around him. He had done his part in keeping our country safe. He had a purpose that compelled him to go on. Now, fate may involve the earthly limitations of our lot in life, but destiny, from the Latin destinare, implies that we are also of the stars. We are also of the stars. The sense of each soul being star-born appears in ancient astrology, but also surfaces in modern astrophysics. Theories of the Big Bang include the notion, and I love this, that we all carry within us a bit of the original exploding star. Each of us is secretly tied to the stars. Both star-born and star-bound, each a bit of a star in our own way. Aren't we though? Aren't we though? So like I said, I've never really thought much about fate and destiny. And having a sense of purpose is important to me. I've always had a strong prayer life, and my path has been fairly clear. So I didn't really think about these two things, especially after I started studying metaphysics. But when I stand back a little and take a broader view, it's kind of making sense to me. Because, we talk about our thought, our feelings, creates our life. And I absolutely agree with those statements. We can't control everything, though. Our lives are all so deeply connected. We say, why? Why does a 27-year-old get inoperable cancer? Why do babies, all of those whys that are just too big for us. So we rest in the knowing that there's something bigger than us that knows more than we do. Just like why some come back from the war and some do not. There has to be more at play. And we know that we are all one in the same God stuff. I know that being mindful of our thoughts and our purpose in life, our attitude, our spiritual practices, all make a difference. Staying awake and aware in the flow of our spiritual nature helps us navigate through this ever-changing life full of why. We're just not as big as the universe. And we don't have to figure it all out. We do have to have some sort of acceptance. That's a Buddhist tenet is, the root of suffering is clinging, is not letting go. So I've got an experience. My husband is a few years older than me. And And he's, but so he was in the military, went through college, was in the military, became an officer in the Coast Guard when I was in junior high school or something, and we didn't know each other. But he told me a story a long time ago, because I'd ask him, we flew a lot together in our little plane, and I'd say, do you get scared? And he's like, no, I just scared enough that I pay attention. Right? Like when we're driving 80 down the highway. Well, or 85, like some of us. Nobody in here probably though. So he told me this story about a time when he was just starting his career in flying. And he was in college, and part of his training, he was doing aviation. He got his commercial license, and he had many hours of practice, and he gained the experience he needed to tow gliders. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with gliders, but they are an airplane that is the same size as a regular plane, doesn't have an engine. So you get towed up into the air by another airplane that does have an engine, and then hit the release hook, and then you soar. And we've flown gliders. It's pretty fun to be in one. It's not as quiet as you think, but it's pretty cool. So he got a job, his first job in aviation while he was in college, to tow gliders. There was a glider port out at the little airport in Tennessee, Middle Tennessee University. So he had his first customer, his first dollar he made in aviation. The glider pilot, Charlie, was Tony's very first paying customer. Charlie was a very experienced pilot. And after Tony released him and the glider started soaring, and Charlie was out there for 4 or 5 hours, just gliding, catching the updrafts, flying with the eagles. Lovely day. In the meantime, Tony was taking other planes up and everything. So when Charlie came into land, his glider, things just didn't go so well. And Charlie crashed. And Charlie died. And you can imagine how Tony felt. So his mentor saw how upset he was. And in his first day, not his first tow, but anyway, he took him aside and gave him a book by Ernest Gann, Fate is the Hunter. And that really, he told me this, it really shifted his trajectory. He said that no matter, he realized from that book, because Gann was a pilot and knew, and he could explain it like a pilot could to another pilot. So Tony said from that book, he said, what I realized was that no matter where you rank, because Charlie was an excellent pilot, no matter how much experience you have, that small things can add up fast in any given day and time. And fate intervenes, as it did for Charlie on that fateful day in Tennessee. Fate, destiny. Tony freed his mind of crashing and lived life fully. He served as an officer in the Coast Guard after college, and then he put the military career behind him and flew to Alaska, and that's where he stayed and flew for over 45 years. He left the rest, fate, his own destiny, and his fate. Let me read you a little bit more from Mr. Michael Meade. It kind of puts an exclamation point on this. Destiny involves an irreversible process of becoming from within. Becoming one's true self means revealing one's innate genius. Our destiny sets us apart from others and places us in the proximity of our natural genius. Now, the old meaning of genius refers to the spirit that is already there. And we talk about being born with certain gifts. The spirit that is already there, the inborn spirit that enters the world as each child is born. The native genius residing within our souls bears the innate gifts and talents that we each bring to the world. Now, it says that the soul must be limited by faith, but arrives gifted and aimed and dedicated to fulfilling its original agreement to contribute something meaningful to life. So we have this agreement as we come in. We have these gifts. We are each woven into the common world of time and space, yet we are secretly tied to all things eternal. We have a foot in time and a toehold in eternity. We have a foot in each world and the responsibility to both. I can read that over and over again and still feel it helping me evolve and see, and it takes some pressure off in a way of knowing why spiritual practice is so important. Why sitting in the silence and hearing our own voice, our own soul is so important. We're tied to both the now and eternity. I wonder where all those military folks are right now, what they're doing, how they're hanging out. So today on this Memorial Day, we remember the many men, women and men that served our country and gave their life as part of their fate and their destiny, each in their own way. It doesn't make it easier for us to lose a loved one, but maybe it gives us some degree of comfort in this life that is so certainly uncertain. For me, this means living your life from your genius, from your very own unique and weird way, trusting whatever life offers you as you listen and honor your soul. We are part of the stars, intricately woven together in a perfect tapestry called life. The seen and the unseen, always and in all ways. So today we honor each other, the genius, the gifts, the love that you are. We don't have to try or work for it. We just have to allow it to bubble up within us. We rely on each other. We rely on our soul.